Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Clintonville Slasher. I'm your host, Frank Wilkes. Today, I'm joined once again, by my good buddy, Nightmare on Woodsboro Lake, Mr. Josh Bentson. Josh, thanks for being on the show.
Always, man. It's always a pleasure.
Welcome. So we're trying this new Stoneyard thing, so we'll see how well this works out. Today is going to be our monthly episode where we get together, jump between both channels. So for those that don't know who you are, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Yeah. My name is Josh. I run a YouTube channel called Nightmare on Woodsboro Lake. Do a lot of skits, trailer reactions, movie reviews, just anything horror related. It's a bit of a passion thing. I love horror, so I started an Instagram, and then before you knew it, I was like, screw it, let's do a YouTube. It seemed to be the way to go.
Right. So today we are going to be talking about a classic horror film, and that horror film is
Pumpkinhead.
Yes, Pumpkinhead. This movie is it's an amazing film. Why don't you give us a little bit of rundown of the film?
Yeah. So the story is about this man, Ed Harley, and his son. They kind of live, a simple life. They have their little farm, and they run a little store, and some out-of-towners come through, and things go a little sideways, and Mr. Harley seeks revenge, and that comes in the form of Mr. Pumpkinhead.
Very true. Now, Mr. Harley actually ends up, what happens is it's like an accident. They accidentally run over his son, and he dies. And there's this old town legend that if you go see this witch that lives out in the woods, she will send out a vengeful spirit, and the vengeful spirit is the Pumpkinhead. When did this movie come out? Do you know?
I believe it was January of 1988.
Wow.
It was January 13th, back in '88.
Oh wow. So I have some interesting things about Pumpkinhead. 10 interesting facts about it. The film was actually inspired by a poem by Ed Justin. The original title for the film was Vengeance the Demon. Was the original title. Vengeance the Demon was the original title for the film. The dog in the movie was the same dog from Gremlins, which I thought was really interesting.
Yeah.
And the number 4, this is actually really interesting. I didn't know this, but this is Mayim Bialik's debut film. Blossom herself was in this movie. She's about, 5 or 6. I didn't actually realize that was her. So I thought that was really cool. Yeah, so this is Mayim Bialik's very first movie. It shares a location with Friday the 13th Part 4. Lance, the actor who plays Ed Harley is actually ashamed of the sci-fi sequels. He was supposed to do a Q&A after the movie, but actually crawled into the theater on his hands and knees and left the movie theater and decided he didn't want nothing to do with it. Oh, that's so funny. Okay. There's actually a Pumpkinhead video game. It's called Blood Wings, and it's for the DOS in 1995.
Wow.
It's actually a computer-based game. So, yeah, I didn't know that. And Lance, I cannot pronounce his last name. Harkinson. I'm terrible with his people's last names. But he actually only took this role for one particular reason, and that was when they're driving through town, and after his son has passed away, he says the line in the movie is, "Daddy," says something along like, "Daddy, what have you done?" And when Lance read that, it reminded him of his son that passed away, so that's why he took the movie. That was the only reason he ever took the film. So,
wow.
Let's see here. Okay, and so the original Pumpkinhead. Hold on, I grab something real quick.
All right.
So, I actually have a Pumpkinhead right here. So, Pumpkinhead is a very iconic looking creature, right? Very cool 80s monster. You notice his face. He's got this pumpkin face. It looks like a just gross demon. Actually, the original idea was to have his face look like Lance's. So he was going to have Lance's face on this grotesque body, which I thought was super awesome.
Yeah.
Let's see here. And then number 10, there is actually supposed to be a remake of this movie, but no one can agree on the rights. And Lance has had the rights for the film for a few different times and has never. No one has ever. No one can agree on anything. They can't find a director. They want to find the original cast, but I think Mayim Bialik is kind of like Jennifer Aniston when it comes to like her first horror movie. She just pretends like it didn't happen, which I think it sucks because if they're going to be in it again, that'd be super rad. It's been many years since I've actually sat down and watched it, but I had spun off a few different sequels. There is one of the greatest horror punk bands of the Walk the Planet, Evelyn's Casket. This is their very first song, Pumpkinhead, that I got into. So shout out to those guys. So if you guys have never seen this, like I highly suggest it.
Yeah, it's a fantastic film. I watched it right around Halloween time, and then I just watched it again in preparation for this video. And the first kill of the movie, which I had no idea, because of like the lighting is crazy. There's like the blue lighting. There's like all this stuff going on. And it's like a stormy it's kind of like a this night scene that's going on where Pumpkinhead is chasing a younger Ed Harley and his family are like in their cabin or their house, and like the neighbor is accused of like killing a girl, and he's like, I didn't do it, like let me in. Like that was Dick Warlock played Michael Myers in one of the Halloween films.
Yes, that's super awesome.
Yeah, first kill of the movie.
That's awesome. Yeah, like I was gonna comment on that too. Like the cinematography for like 1988, I believe it was when the movie came out, is something else. It's like this is a straight sci-fi horror film, and it's like something that it doesn't get talked about a lot. No one really gives it a lot of love, and the simple fact that it's such a classic and iconic movie that like no one really talks about. I feel like Pumpkinhead gets kind of swept under the rug when it comes to horror, and no one really talks about it. But this is one of my favorites. One of my earliest childhood horror films. This is it. I saw this before I saw the Hellraiser movies, and I actually prefer Pumpkinhead over Hellraiser, to be honest with you. But I've actually never seen the sequels. So have you seen the sequels at all?
Yeah, I've seen them. It's been a while, but I remember like one of them. It's a sequel. It's actually like a prequel.
Oh, really?
Like the events of like Pumpkinhead. I can't remember which one it was, but it goes back even further back than like Ed Hardy and all them, and it goes kind of back to like these two feuding families. It might be part 4, but it goes back to like these two families. They're like the Hatfield and McCoy kind of thing going on. Okay. And like these two lovers that are like trying to be together, and it ends up the one guy's sister gets killed, and he invokes Pumpkinhead on that whole family. It was actually pretty good. I actually enjoyed that one. But yeah, it's been a while though since I've seen them. But
right,
for sure.
That's awesome. Yeah, I haven't seen this movie in a long time. I actually found it in my stack of films, and I was like, dude, you know what? Like, no one ever talks about this ever. So I thought we should give it a shot. Give it some love. This is a good movie. And so one of those pizza and Friday night horror movies that you get from Blockbuster back in like 1996, and your mom would let you watch it. But this one's really good.
Yeah. I like the concept of it for sure. Like, the people seeking out vengeance, they want it, but at what cost? It's a heavy price to pay to bring back Pumpkinhead, to wreak vengeance on the people who have done you wrong, and it ultimately costs you everything.
Exactly.
So I think that's really rad.
Yeah, man. And Evelyn's Casket says it best. The witch's demon lives in these woods. If he's coming for you, you probably deserve it. So,
Yeah.
If he's coming for you, you probably deserve it. So yeah, and that's the thing. Like, if you invoke the spirit, it does take everything. It not only do you get your vengeance, but it takes a pound of flesh itself too. There is a big price to pay, and that's that kind of like would put yourself in that predicament. If like you were out to get revenge, how far are you willing to go? You're gonna kill innocent people to get your revenge, but what is it going to cost you? So,
Yeah.
And I think that I think it's a really good film on several different aspects: directing, acting. It was a low budget horror film, but I mean, it's one of those movies that just jumps out at you when you first see it, because you don't really expect the plot of this movie to go the way it does.
Yeah. And like you said, for like being a low budget, it like they did a lot with what they had. Like the lighting is great. Like the atmosphere is awesome. Pumpkinhead looks freaking sick.
Yeah, he looks fucking scary. Look at this thing. Would you want this thing fucking coming after you?
Right. And one thing I did notice, how you mentioned that it was supposed to look like Ed Harley's face. Did you notice that his face became more human-like at the end of the movie?
Yeah. It does.
And then Ed starts to look more like a monster by the end too. You see his eyes start to change, and
his demeanor changes. Yeah, everything about him is like basically gone because the witch took your soul. And that's the pound of flesh that you're gonna endure. And I think one of my very favorite parts is like when he's walking through like that old church, and they're like, I think that's part one, where he's walking through the church and it's all torn down, and just like the lighting behind him and how he slow moves through it. It's just it's that scene like jumps out at me the most, and like when Ed Harley is like running at the very beginning when he's running the store, and it's like a convenience store that they run, and these kids are messing around on dirt bikes and they accidentally run over his son, and like that's a really good iconic look too, and then Ed goes to the witch, and it's like when he goes to the witch's cabin and he's walking through, just like the lighting and the cinematography they had for that low budget of a movie, they really brought that awesome 80s nostalgic like horror filled feel to it, and it was just fucking amazing. So I mean, like I can't gloat about this movie how good it is enough. Like I tell people about it all the time, and they're like, I've never seen it, I would never want to see it. And I'm like, dude, you have no idea what you're missing and how fucking great it is. Yeah,
and it's like it's so original. Like like you look at the time too, like all these other movies that were coming out, Pumpkinhead stands out. It's not your typical slasher movie. It's not your it's supernatural, but it's not like Exorcist, or like it's not like it stands on its own. There's no movie that you can be like, okay, Pumpkinhead is like this movie. No, it's Pumpkinhead. There's not anything like it. So I mean,
there's nothing to compare it to.
Yeah,
definitely. So what do you got going on next? What's next for you?
Oh man, got some more reviews going to go on. I've got some things that I'm going to be updating with my channel. Try to spruce it up a little more.
All right, on.
Got some interviews lined up, and a lot of cool things coming up. How about yourself?
So for the rest of this month, I am planning on doing a movie review with my son that I didn't get around a chance to do it, but I'm going to take a little bit of a different direction in this one, and I'm going to actually do a movie review on Black Adam, which is a film that my son went and saw, which it's a comic book movie. I'm not the biggest fan of comic book movies, but I'm going to give you my honest opinion. I'll give you like a slight rundown of it. I like it, but I don't like comic book films because they rely so much on CGI. There's no love to it. There's no feel to it. They don't have to be good at cinematography to do a comic book movie when you have $150 million to throw at it, because you can just do anything on computers. And I feel like there's no magic. What did there's no cool camera tricks because you can change it with the computers. And they put a lot of work in these movies, and it's really cool. And it had Pierce Brosnan in it, had Henry Winkler in it. I'm just not a big comic book guy. That's where I'm coming from. So I have that, and then next month we have a Christmas episode, which is going to be awesome. I'm going to get back to next month in December is going to be straight horror movie reviews, Christmas reviews, lots more slasher hours. We're going to do a Christmas party between you and I, I'm looking forward to it. I think we're going to invite Ken and Ashley to that. That's going to be a lot of fun. And Frankenhooker's got a band. We have a show on New Year's Eve, so we're finishing out the year strong.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, man.
You got a lot coming up.
Yeah. So I want to thank you, Josh, so much for being here. If you guys want to follow Josh, all of his links will be in the description box below. Thank you so much for being here, man. Stay horror. And until next time, I'm Lurch Frankie Wilkes. That's Josh from Nightmare on Woodsboro Lake. Stay horror. We'll see you later.
Hell yeah.